Hi my loves, today I am doing something that hopefully will start off a new series here on my channel. I kind of did something similar to this let's say like a year ago, where I was going through different areas of my makeup collection, and that sounded really southern. Who even am I? I was going through various areas of my makeup collection and I was choosing items from each category. So lip products, eye products, face products, whatever it might be, blush, and I was showing you guys my very top favorites, and I kind of got off the bandwagon, and since then my makeup collection has like quadrupled in size, and I've tried so many more products that I thought maybe it would be kind of fun to start up again and show you like my favorite drugstore products. I can also do this in like a high-end form for those of you who like things from like, you know, the higher end section of Ulta or Sephora or whatever. Just let me know what you guys would like. But today I'm going to be showing you foundations, and it just so happens that I have 5. So these are my top 5 favorites of the drugstore. Also, keep in mind with all of these, I am very dry skin, like incredibly dry skin, but I'm also acne prone, and I also have a lot to cover up. I really don't like using concealer on the face, so most of these are gonna have pretty great coverage, and that's pretty much, I think, all I have to say. I do have a few different finishes, so I have some dewier ones, I have like a more natural finish foundation, and I have 2 matte ones as well. Let's start off with my holy grail, love of my life foundation, drugstore, high-end, anywhere. I'm not wearing this today, but it is the Maybelline Fit Me Dewy Plus Smooth Foundation, and I have this in the shade 120. You can see mine is kind of messy. This is not one of those foundations that's good for travel because the packaging, for whatever reason on this one, it just always like leaks out, and I found that I have another bottle of this that doesn't do that, but it's kind of hit or miss, so I'm not entirely comfortable traveling with it. Even so, this is one of the best foundations I've ever found. A lot of you, when I show this, are like, well, I knew that they came out with matte plus poreless, but I didn't know they had dewy plus smooth. I thought this was an entirely new release at the drugstore, like completely new. And then I realized it's legit just the original Fit Me formula, but it's been named Dewy Plus Smooth. I've explained to the consumer that it is in fact Dewy Plus Smooth, dewy and smooth, and not like the matte and poreless version. So I have this one, and I absolutely love this. There is no foundation like this on the market, high-end anything. I like this better than the $60 YSL foundation I'm wearing today. It is ridiculous how great the coverage is in this. And yes, the finish is quite dewy, but I feel like it's not too dewy. Like if I were to set this with a powder, I have very dry skin again, but I do use quite heavy moisturizers because it is so dry. And so when I set this with a powder, I'm getting kind of like a demi matte finish. It's sort of like a satin. So if you were someone who really liked a dewy finish, I think this is great, but it's also quite versatile in that you can set it and it's not like tacky to the finish, you know what I mean? This is a foundation that I feel like you need to let sit on your skin before you go in with powder, or else it looks really cakey. You can really build it on top of itself though. I've done like 3 layers when I really wanted a flawless finish and I didn't have to use any concealer. It was just a full face. With that fuller coverage, of course, comes with a longer drying time, and I do feel like even as a dewy finish foundation, this really does need time to sit on the skin. That being said, it is my holy grail foundation, my favorite of all time. I've never loved a foundation as much as this one in particular, and I highly recommend it. It's one of the cheapest ones I'm going to mention today as well. I highly recommend getting it at Walmart because I think it's like $5 or $6 or something like that, but you can also get it at Walgreens and do like buy one get one half off, and it's about the same price. You guys know the drill. I just really like this foundation, and yeah, it is the favorite one that I'm going to mention throughout this entire video. Now, on days when I feel like my skin is looking super dull, when I just feel like I want to look, number 1, alive, number 2, like flawless, and just when I want to look fresh and awake and rested, I always turn to this foundation, and I have this in the shade W4. This is the True Match Lumi by L'Oreal. You're gonna see the foundation colors in this are quite like mix and match. I am fake tanned like 50% of the time and then super pale the rest of the time, which means that I can try out like multiple different foundation formulas because I'm different colors, and it gives me an excuse to buy more. This has SPF 20 in it, which is quite good for just, you know, a run-of-the-mill foundation. It doesn't really create flashback in photos. It's not high enough of an SPF for that. The Fit Me Dewy Plus Smooth, by the way, did have SPF 18, and I just really like this one as well. This one has a very watery formula. It says Lumi on it, and I feel like sometimes I see luminous foundations and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna be super glittery after that. I'm not gonna lie, as someone with like imperfections on their face, I don't really like to have glitter all over my skin. This doesn't really have any shimmer, which is why I don't 100% understand why they call it a Lumi foundation. I feel like it's just very natural. It looks very flawless on the skin, and you do look luminous and alive and awake, but you're not overly dewy. If I don't set this with a powder, I'm not like as dewy as I would be with this. This is a truly dewy foundation. You're going to get dewiness. This is probably the most natural finish foundation I'm going to mention today, at least on my skin tone. If you are someone who's matte, or not matte, if you are someone who's oily, what am I even saying, and you would like a dewy foundation, maybe this would be good because I don't feel like it's overly anything. I just feel like it's quite natural. So maybe as you might get oily through the day, this would just look dewy instead of oily. You know what I mean? I don't feel like it has the best wear time, if we're being totally honest. This is one I often pair with a primer, whereas with the Fit Me, I don't have to use a primer. This one definitely needs one underneath, just to ensure that it's going to last throughout the day and it's not going to sink into any imperfections on the face. I just sort of feel like after I've had this on for like 6 or so hours, you can definitely tell I have on foundation. It's sinking into lines. It's like really accentuating my pores, highlighting areas where I have hyperpigmentation, you know the drill. So definitely need a primer with it, but other than that, I absolutely love this, and it is a really good summer foundation as well. So side note, love the packaging, love the pump, super cool, and it's not glass, which is quite nice, so it's not going to break very easily if you drop it. Last dewy finish, and then we will talk about some matte finish foundation. This is the Neutrogena Healthy Skin Liquid Makeup, and you can see this is like my natural, well actually, you know what, this is a tiny bit pink for me if we're being totally real. It's the color Classic Ivory, and I picked this up and then I realized it doesn't 100% match, but I usually can make it work. This is a really nice foundation and it has great coverage. Again, this is more of a full coverage foundation, whereas I believe with these past two, this one is kind of medium to full. The True Match Lumi, again, medium to maybe medium full. This one is a full coverage foundation. When you go in with this, unless you're using something like a damp beauty blender, you're going to get wabam coverage. Like, it's going to cover everything. The finish on this is super dewy. I used this in a recent tutorial. I'll actually link it down below if you want to see this in action. It was a Taylor Swift tutorial and it was a very like editorial look, and I wanted hyper dewy skin. This is going to give you that. The only thing about this foundation is, even with a primer underneath, if you don't set this, it doesn't have the best wear time. Again, I would pretty much give this like 4 to 5 hours with no powder on top before it's like, okay, I can see major fading. I can really see it wearing off in some areas. So I do recommend setting this with a powder or wearing a primer underneath if you are really looking for, you know, a super dewy finish. I think this is a great foundation though, and I do think that if you are someone who's looking for a dewy finish, if you're looking for a really full coverage foundation, because sometimes that's sort of hard to find. It's hard to find a full coverage dewy foundation, at least in my opinion. This is gonna be your BFF. It can look quite natural as well if you really take your time and shear it out with a beauty blender. So I like this one a lot as well. So let's talk matte coverage foundations. Originally, I had a video plan in which I went through several new foundations I had bought and I tried out all of them on the face and then I gave a review. And in that foundation like video smorgasbord, I said I didn't like this, and that was one of the main reasons I never put the video up, because I've realized that this is not a foundation for someone with my particular skin type, but I do still use it because I love the way that it looks. So I really have to moisturize when I wear this. I mean really moisturize, and wear a super hydrating primer. This foundation is very natural, but it does have a matte finish, a fully matte finish, especially on my super dry skin. So it can be very drying. It can really accentuate my dry areas and my imperfections on my dry skin. I still use it though because number one, it's super easy to put on. This is one of those foundations that has one of these little like spatula doohickeys, and I really don't like love that, but it's so liquidy that honestly I can't see another method of applying it. I think if it had a pump, it might get really messy and you really can't pour this out on the back of your hand. Don't try, because I did and it turned into a mess. The coverage on this is medium to like medium full again. But the only difference between this and maybe the True Match Lumi, because they both are very thin in consistency. They both have SPF 20. This is going to be your matte version. This is going to be your more natural, slightly dewy version. This foundation feels like water going on the face, and the weird thing about it is it really has a great lasting time for such a thin consistency. I think that in the summer, this is a great foundation for someone like me who might get kind of sweaty and a little bit oily through the day. I don't really get oily unless I'm like out in the sun and whatnot, you know, kind of grody, but true. I think this might be a really nice everyday foundation for someone who has truly oily or normal to combination skin. If you are dry, I just recommend moisturizing like crazy, but it has such a beautiful, natural matte finish that I think it's well worth working with a little bit. The final foundation is the only one in this entire video that was sent to me, and Jordana sent me every single color of this. So a lot of my friends have gotten a bottle of this and they all have the same reaction that I do. This is one of the coolest foundations in the history of ever. This is the Complete Cover Maximum Coverage 2-in-1 concealer and foundation. This is a fully matte foundation. You're not going to look natural. You're not going to get any sort of dewiness with this. This is matte. Only downfall is this is the only foundation in the entire bunch that has 0 SPF. I do have this in the shade Fair Beige, which is the color that I am when I'm like super pale, and I have to say this is one of the coolest products ever. You kind of get this like jumbo size tube and you get 1 ounce, which is the typical foundation amount that you would get, but this is a multi-purpose product, and the fact that you can use it as a foundation or a concealer. I am tanned on the hands right now, so you're really going to be able to see this product, and we're going to do 2 different dots of this. I'm going to take about half of the product I just put on the hand and put it here. So if I like really rub this into the skin, you're seeing like you're getting good coverage. You're getting a truly nice matte coverage, but then when I like pat it like this and I'm not rubbing in the way you would with a foundation, can you guys see how much fuller the coverage is on this hand? And yeah, you're not going to do this all over the skin, but when you don't rub and rub and rub and rub the way that you would with the foundation, you get a much fuller coverage. So this can be really 2-in-1. You can use it to spot conceal. I don't know if I'd recommend using it under the eyes because it's a little bit thick in its consistency, but you definitely can use it on like acne marks or scarring and whatnot. And yeah, I really like it as an all-in-one foundation and concealer. I don't add in any additional concealers except for under the eye area. It's also very quick. It's easy to blend in case you couldn't tell there on the hand. And this is probably going to be the cheapest of the bunch, and Jordana can be found at Walgreens primarily. Now that one hand is like a million times lighter than the other, I really hope you all enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. And if you guys want more of this series, let me know in the comments down below, and maybe I will do another few episodes. And yeah, I love you guys so much. I will see you very soon in my next video, and until then, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye!